Uncovering the shocking truth, the fallen angel Azazel's devastating legacy revealed at midnight. It was a dark and stormy night when whispers of the fallen angel Azazel began to swirl through the small town of Maplewood. A blood-red moon hung menacingly in the sky, illuminating the twisted branches of ancient trees, their gnarled forms resembling clawed hands reaching out to something beyond. People spoke in hushed tones, sharing tales of his chilling legacy, the angel of despair, who was cast down for teaching mankind forbidden knowledge. A chill ran down the spine of anyone who dared to mention his name, echoing the fear that wrapped the night in an icy embrace. In the heart of town, the old library stood like a forgotten sentinel, its once vibrant walls now crumbling, draped in shadows. Rumors swirled that deep within its dusty archives laid a book with Azazel's true story, a book that held the secrets of his divine punishment and the terrible price humanity paid for his transgressions. They said that at midnight, the pages would whisper, revealing the legacy that the world had tried to bury. Did you feel that? A throbbing heartbeat, echoing with each tick of the clock, creating a symphony of dread. As the hour approached, townsfolk gathered in nervous clusters, eyes flickering with anxiety yet glued to the library's door. An elderly woman, her frail hands trembling, recited a chilling prophecy she had heard long ago. Azazel's curse would be unleashed again if anyone dared to uncover his truth. Her voice cracked like dry leaves as the townspeople exchanged fearful glances, a storm brewing not just outside, but in their very souls. Suddenly, the clock struck 12, and a sharp breeze kicked up, sending chills racing through the crowd. Was it just the wind? Or the frantic whisper of Azazel himself? The air seemed charged, crackling with an otherworldly energy that drew them closer, an unexplainable lure that made their hearts pound. A door creaked open, revealing a shadowy figure lurking just beyond the threshold. Everything went silent, holding its breath, as if the world was frozen in anticipation. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Eyes wide, hearts racing, the onlookers gasped as a figure stepped into the moonlight. It was the librarian, her dark hair swirling around her face like a tempest. She held a dusty, leather-bound book tightly against her chest. "You don't know what you're asking for," she said, voice low and trembling. "Are you willing to risk everything for the secrets of Azazel?" In that moment, curiosity clashed with fear, and the thrill of the unknown hung in the air, the promise of forbidden knowledge taunting their every thought. What lay within those pages? What would they unleash? Would they invite the angel's wrath upon them? The questions lingered heavy, a storm waiting to burst. As the librarian hesitated, the whole town held its breath, caught in the web of uncertainty. The secrets of Azazel were about to unfold, but at what cost? The librarian's eyes flickered with a mix of fear and determination. "You have to understand, Azazel's legacy is not just a story, it is a curse," she muttered, glancing over her shoulder as if expecting something to leap out from the darkness. "Once the truth is spoken, it cannot be undone." Behind her, the storm raged louder, the wind howling like an anguished spirit. Lightning illuminated the darkness, casting eerie shadows that danced along the library's cracked walls. The townsfolk shuffled restlessly, their tension palpable. Eyes darted between the figure of the librarian and the ominous book she clasped so tightly. Just show us." A brave voice finally broke through the crowd. It was young Matty, his face pale but resolute. The townsfolk murmured in agreement. Fear and curiosity intertwined tightly in their hearts, urging them to uncover the truth they had long avoided. The librarian hesitated, glancing at the sky as another rumble of thunder sounded ominously overhead. "Very well," she whispered, gripping the book tighter, as if drawing strength from its worn spine. She took a step forward, revealing its ancient cover etched with symbols that seemed to shimmer in the moonlight. As she opened the book, the pages revealed themselves, yellowed and frail, cradling the weight of generations of knowledge. These pages hold the darkest secrets, the things Azazel taught and what man chose to forget. Her voice trembled, but there was a fire in her eyes. You must listen carefully, what you learn may change everything. The air grew thick as she began to read, her voice echoing with an unmistakable power. The first words tumbled forth, the very air around them shifting with each syllable. In the beginning, Azazel walked among us, teaching wisdom long hidden from mortal minds. But then, as if the heavens split open, a deafening crack echoed through the town. The lights flickered, and chaos erupted. People screamed, scattering in every direction as the ground shook beneath them. Get back! The librarian shouted, her voice steady among the panic. But it was too late. From the shadows, a figure emerged, a dark silhouette that towered over the trembling crowd. As their eyes adjusted to the flickering light, a gasping realization swept over them. This was no ordinary man. It was a striking resemblance to the ancient depictions of Azazel himself. Gasps filled the air, silencing the frantic outcries, as the monstrous figure stepped forward, its fierce eyes locked onto the librarian. She stood her ground, gripping the book tighter. You cannot silence us again, she yelled, her fear morphing into defiance. We will uncover the truth. The figure paused, lips curling into what looked like a twisted smile, a haunting contrast to the chaotic scene around them. Truth? It hissed, each word dripping with malice. The truth will lead to despair, as it always does. Terror pierced the hearts of the onlookers, but something deeper stirred within them. Was this not the moment they had been waiting for? With one colossal sweep, the dark figure began to raise its arms, shadows swirling around it like a tempest. The air thickened, suffocating their hopes and dreams, as desperation etched itself into their faces, and then, just like that, the world seemed to collapse into an abyss of total darkness. The librarian's cry echoed through the void, but it felt distant, fading away as all light vanished. When the darkness finally lifted, the townsfolk found themselves back inside the library, but everything had changed. The air was heavy, and the weight of Azazel's presence lingered like a dreadful fog. What have we done? Mattie's voice barely rose above a whisper, fear gripping his throat. As the reckoning of their choice began to unfold, uncertainty knotted within them. They had opened the door, but what lay beyond? The librarian's voice now felt like a ghost haunting the silence, but the true horror has yet to begin. What had they truly unleashed, and how far would Azazel's legacy stretch? With the town of Maplewood teetering on the brink of an unimaginable fate, old legends whispered in the shadows. Would they have the strength to face whatever darkness was set to come? The silence that engulfed the library felt like a living entity, suffocating and oppressive. The townsfolk huddled together, wide eyes reflecting the flickering light from candles scattered throughout the dim room. Shadows stretched out like dark fingers, clawing at their hearts and minds. Where is he? Someone whispered, breaking the tension that hung thick in the air. But no one had the answer. The librarian stood frozen, her gaze fixed on the spot where Azazel had appeared. The very air crackled with his lingering presence, and dread pooled in her stomach. He is not gone, he is watching, she muttered, more to herself than to them. What do you mean? Mattie stepped forward, taking a deep breath, as if the very act of inhaling would give him strength. What do we do now? The librarian turned, her face pale but fierce. We must confront the truth we have unleashed. We must. Before she could finish, the book she held shook violently. Pages flipped as if caught in a storm, ancient words erupting in whispers that filled the library, each syllable swirling like a tempest of secrets long buried. The whispers crescendoed into a chaotic chorus, a nightmare chorus that clawed at their minds. Stop! Shouted Mattie, hands over his ears, but it was too late. The voices wrapped around him, echoing truths that were meant to remain hidden. The sins of the past are returning one by one. The townsfolk staggered back, gripped by a sense of déjà vu, as visions crept into their minds, images of the townspeople long gone, faces twisted in agony, and shadows looming over their shoulders. "What is happening?" a woman cried out, tears spilling down her cheeks. "Something we've closed our eyes to for too long," said the librarian, her voice steadier now. "We allowed our fear to guide us, and in doing so, we forgot the cost of silence." Suddenly, the library door burst open, the wind howling in like a furious beast. Figures cloaked in darkness entered, their faces obscured, but eyes shone with malevolence. They moved into the light, each step resonating with a sense of purpose that chilled the air. They were not just shadows, they were the cursed, the forgotten remnants of Azazel's past, and they were eager for retribution. Panic erupted once more, the townsfolk scrambling to the back of the library. "What do they want?" Matty shouted, his voice barely piercing the tumult. "They seek out those who brought Azazel's truth back into the world," the librarian replied, her strength faltering. "And we are the ones they blame." "No!" someone shrieked, their voice cracking in fear. "We didn't know." The shadows circled closer, their whispers blending with the wind outside. "Ignorance is no excuse, and your time has come to face the consequences. Azazel will claim what is rightfully his." Matty looked at the librarian, desperation plain on his face. "What are we supposed to do? How do we stop this?" She took a step forward, eyes fierce. "We don't hide, we fight. We confront our fears and stand together against the darkness we awakened." But even as she spoke, the oppressive energy deepened, swirling around them as if the shadows themselves were a living, breathing creature. The townspeople felt it, a weight of despair pressing against their chests, twisting their resolve. In that moment, a sharp light flickered within Matty, ignited by the librarian's words. "We can't let history repeat itself," he shouted. "We must remember, we must learn." For a heartbeat, silence gripped them, and in that breathless pause, hope sparkled among the doom. But the cloaked figures lunged forward, their shadows intertwining, ready to snuff out the flicker of defiance, and just as that flicker threatened to spark a flame, a deafening roar erupted from the depths of the library. The very walls shuddered as if opposing what was to come. With hearts racing, they braced for the unknown, not fully prepared for the confrontation that loomed ahead. What was lurking in the shadows, ready to leap into the light? Would they be consumed by the past, or could they forge a future that broke free from Azazel's curse? As the tremors of destiny clashed around them, one question hung in the air like a forbidden promise: who would survive the truth they had unleashed? The roar reverberated through the library, a sound that felt like 1,000 voices crying out in pain. The floor shook beneath them, sending books tumbling from their shelves. Matty clenched his fists, the sharp edges of the wooden table digging into his palms as he steadied himself. Beside him, the librarian's expression hardened, her defiance burning bright against the encroaching darkness. "Stay together," she commanded, but chaos had already erupted. Townsfolk screamed, scrambling in all directions, their panic palpable, the smell of fear thick in the air. The cloaked figures advanced, their presence oppressive, shadows extending like rotting vines, reaching for any flicker of hope. "Matty!" The librarian's voice cut through the chaos, grounding him. "Focus. We need to find the heart of this library. It holds the truth we can use to fight back." He nodded, determination swirling in his chest. The lights flickered above, casting harsh glimpses of monstrous faces in the dark. Matty turned, eyes scanning the rows of bookshelves, feeling the weight of history pressing down on him. "Where do we start?" "There." The librarian pointed at a section labeled Forbiddens. The title resonated within him, a dark curiosity bubbling to the surface. Without hesitation, he sprinted toward the shelves, the librarian close behind him. Books whispered around them, secrets teasing the edge of comprehension. As they reached the shelf, Matty pulled a tome rich with dust. The moment he opened it, an explosion of light surrounded them, enveloping the library in a brilliant shockwave that sent the cloaked figures staggering back. The townsfolk froze, awe intermingling with terror. These pages, they're alive. Maddie gasped, watching letters flicker like embers. The librarian leaned close, her eyes lit with wonder. It's the source. It knows what has been hidden. Before they could comprehend the enormity of their discovery, a chilling laughter erupted deep and echoing. From the swirling darkness emerged Azazel himself, a figure clad in shadows, with piercing eyes that burned like coals. You dare meddle with the past? He bellowed, the very walls vibrating with his fury, fear constricted around Maddie's throat. We need to understand. You can't change what is already written. Azazel interrupted, advancing, each step a threat that sent cold sweat down Maddie's spine, but then a flicker of resolve ignited among the insiders. We can learn. The librarian shouted, stepping forward, her voice steady. What ancient secrets do you hold? Why do you haunt us? The shadows paused as if contemplating the challenge. Haunt? Azazel's laughter echoed again, malignant and hollow. I am not your haunt. I am your legacy. I will not merely watch you perish. I will make it so you know every agony of your ancestors, every breath suffocated by the lies you cling to. A sudden jolt surged through Maddie as another book fell from the shelf, pages flying open as it hit the ground. It was different from the others, glowing with an energy that radiated warmth instead of dread. Hesitantly, he reached down, feeling the pull of something powerful. Maddie the librarian warned, her voice taut with tension, but he couldn't resist. He grasped the book, and as he began to read aloud, words surged forth like a flood, drowning out Azazel's menacing presence. With each word, the figures around them faltered, faces shifting from wicked glee to confusion. The librarian stood beside him, chanting the next line in agreement, their voices resonating in a fragile harmony. The final words erupted, and for a moment, time froze. Shadows cried out, twisting, writhing against the light. No! Azazel screamed, fury breaking through his facade. But the sudden burst of revelation shattered their world, revealing hidden truths buried within decades of silence. Secrets were pulled from the darkness, and as history unfolded, Maddie felt a strange connection to those long gone. What would the emergence of these truths mean for their fate? Could it turn the tide against Azazel, or were they merely opening a door best left shut? As the echoes of a long-lost past blended with their present, Maddie realized they were caught on the edge of a greater mystery. What lay beyond the threshold of this revelation? Would they emerge victorious, or would the darkness tighten its grip even more? The ground trembled beneath Maddie's feet as the book's energy crackled around them, rippling through the air like electricity. The oppressive shadows wavered, twisting and reforming as if battling for their existence against the growing light. Keep reading. The librarian urged, her eyes fierce, filled with both fear and hope. Maddie took a deep breath, reading each line with newfound urgency. Every word healed a fragment of the past, a surge of knowledge redirecting their fate. Images flashed before him, families torn apart, secrets buried so deep they pulsed like wounds. The price of ignorance was steep, yet the truth shone bright, beckoning them onward. Azazel recoiled, shadowy fingers clawing at his essence, his face twisted with rage. You think you can decipher the past? You fools! Do you even understand the darkness that binds your souls? His voice shook the library, rattling the very bones of the oak shelves. Your darkness doesn't scare us. Maddie shouted, his voice growing steadier, defiance igniting his spirit. The townsfolk, sensing a shift, began to gather behind him and the librarian. Whispers circulated among them, laced with courage as they caught sight of the trembling specter of Azazel. With a ripple of energy from the book, pages began to fill Maddie's mind with not just history, but a plan. He was beginning to see the patterns, the twisted threads that had bound families to anguish for generations. We're not just reading. Maddie exclaimed, the realization igniting a wildfire within him. We're rewriting this story. Azazel's laughter turned shrill, filling the air like nails on a chalkboard. You cannot rewrite fate. It is powerful, far greater than you can comprehend. As long as we stand united, we can change anything." The librarian shouted, stepping closer to Maddie, their voices intertwining like roots breaking through cracked earth. Together, they channeled their resolve into the words, intertwining their destinies with the power of truth. Suddenly, the book glowed brighter, and ancient symbols began to dance across the pages. Maddie felt the weight lift, and the energy enveloped them both, turning the tide. "Look!" he gasped, pointing at the symbols. "It's a map. A path to the hidden truths of this town." Of course. The heart is not just a collection of memories, it's alive. The librarian added, her voice echoing through the chaos. "It holds not only past sorrows but the power to confront Azazel." All at once, a shriek echoed inside the library, the cloaked figures staggered back, scrambling to escape the surging light. As Maddie and the librarian shouted the last incantation, a fissure opened within the shadows, splitting apart. Azazel's form flickered, eyes blazing with fury and desperation. But even as triumph surged within Maddie, a chill crawled up his spine. "This isn't over," Azazel spat, his voice dripping with malice. "You may buy yourself a moment, but the darkness knows your weaknesses." The librarian turned to Maddie, the fire in her eyes dimming for a second as the weight of his doubt washed over him. "We need to find the map's destination. Before Azazel can strike again, we must unlock its full power." "Can we?" A flicker of unease danced through Maddie. The thrill of discovery battled with the fear of reopening unseen horrors. "But what if we're not ready?" he asked, voice trembling. The librarian steadied him, the determination in her gaze forging an unbreakable bond. "We are ready. Together, we can face the darkness and rewrite our fates." With the echoes of past tragedies swirling around, Maddie and the librarian prepared to delve deeper, ready to confront the darkness lurking beyond the newly revealed path. The library became a battlefield of hope and despair, vibrantly alive with possibilities. As they moved forward, the shadows whispered a chilling warning, a promise that Azazel would return. Could they truly confront the legacy of pain he left behind, or would the fight for their future ignite unspeakable horrors? Only time would tell as they stepped into the unknown, hearts racing with apprehension and resolve. What awaited them just beyond the threshold of truth? Was it liberation or the very devastation Azazel hinted at? As Maddie and the librarian stood at the edge of the shimmering portal the book had created, a heavy stillness enveloped them. Sweat trickled down Maddie's brow, a stark reminder of the urgency pressing upon them. He glanced back, heart pounding. The townsfolk were watching, their faces a mix of hope and terror. It felt like they were all holding their breath, waiting to see what lay ahead. "Ready?" the librarian asked, her voice steady but laced with a tremor of anxiety. Maddie nodded, though inside him, a storm of doubt raged. What if they unleashed something darker? What if Azazel was not just a ghost of the past, but a monster reborn? The librarian took a breath and stepped through the fissure first. Maddie hesitated for just a heartbeat. Then, with a steely resolve, he followed, plunging into the unknown. They stumbled into a deserted square, dimly lit by flickering lanterns swaying in a cold breeze. The air felt electric, charged with the remnants of the shadows that had chased them just moments before. Ancient buildings loomed around them, ghostly whispers echoing off the cobblestone. Maddie could almost hear secrets laced within the wind. "What is this place?" he asked, his voice barely a whisper. "The heart of our history," the librarian replied, her eyes scanning the surroundings. "Where past and present converge." As they moved farther into the square, the surrounding buildings seemed to lean closer, as if eavesdropping on their every word. A pulse emanated from the ground beneath their feet, syncing with the frantic beat of Maddie's heart. A tapestry of golden light began to unravel in the center of the square, revealing images of their ancestors and the shadows that had tormented them. "Look!" Maddie exclaimed, pointing. "That's my grandmother." The image flickered, showing her working a broken loom, her face etched with sorrow. "And my father. How did they all They were trapped, the librarian interrupted, urgency knitting her brow. All the anguish tied to Azazel's darkness. We have to free them. Just then, a low rumble shook the square, and the frantic whispers morphed into horrified screams. A figure emerged from the shadows. Azazel, his form was more solid now, gaining strength from the energy of the place. His eyes glowed like embers, fierce with hatred. You really thought you could escape? He hissed, each word dripping with venom. You've only walked into my domain. Maddie felt the weight of fear curl around his chest. We're here to face you. He shouted back, though his voice quivered. Azazel laughed, a sound that twisted through the air like barbed wire. Oh, but this is my memory. Every agony you see is the price of your continued existence. With a motion of his hand, the tapestry lit up, revealing torment and sorrow, a lineage of despair. Maddie felt it tug at his spirit, threatening to drown him in the weight of his ancestors' pain. He stumbled back, his breath catching in his throat. Fight it! The librarian cried, anchoring him back to the moment. You must confront the truth of your past. Forced to take a stand, Maddie locked eyes with Azazel, fury mingling with a fierce determination. You don't own us anymore. We will rewrite our futures. And how do you propose to do that? Azazel sneered, advancing closer. With your limited knowledge? You think the book holds the answers? It was my gift to this town. A tension cracked in the air. Clouds darkened the sky, swirling with ominous energy. It felt as if the fabric of reality was stretching, preparing to rupture. Maddie, the map! The librarian shouted, her voice cutting through. Focus on the path. Use it to break the cycle. Clenching his fists, Maddie closed his eyes, recalling the symbols. A mantra swirled in his mind. Each word brought clarity, igniting a searing light from within him. But as he began to chant, a chilling wind swept through the square, and Azazel's laughter grew louder, more menacing. You're not ready for what lies ahead, are you? As the shadows began to lurch toward them, dark tendrils reaching with a hunger that made Maddie's skin crawl, a question loomed over them both. Could they truly harness the power hidden within the map, or would they become one more thread in the tapestry of despair woven by Azazel's hands? What monstrous truths awaited them, lurking in the corners of history, waiting to be unveiled? Maddie's heart raced, each beat echoing in the chilling silence that hung over the square. The tapestry pulsed with a hostile energy, waves of darkness crashing towards them. He could see Azazel, a twisted specter of malice, reveling in their fright. The librarian stood firm beside him, her presence like a flickering candle in a hurricane. Don't succumb! She shouted, her voice slicing through the chaos. You have the strength of your ancestors behind you. With every heartbeat, Maddie felt the weight of the ancestral despair pressing down. Memories flashed through his mind, lost relatives, unfulfilled lives. But then, reminiscent warmth flooded him. The warmth of not just sorrow, but resilience. He wouldn't let this be the end. He focused again on the map, images swirling like a kaleidoscope. Patterns intertwined with the tapestry's glow, illuminating the path to a truth hidden for too long. This map, it's more than just a guide, it's a connection. He exclaimed, realization igniting a spark deep inside. What are you waiting for? We can't linger. The librarian urged, eyes darting toward the approaching shadows, her voice a whip of urgency. Flushed with adrenaline, Maddie took a step forward, grounding himself. He needed to blend the symbols into a connection, a bridge to the past that could cut through Azazel's suffocating grasp. Ancestors, hear me. Your strength is my strength. A chorus of voices flooded his mind. He felt their struggle, their pain, their determination to set things right. They shouted his name, not in despair, but in solidarity. It was a call to arms. The tapestry writhed, images resonating off one another. Lines of battle and treachery, lives shattered and lives redeemed. Maddie reached out toward the glowing tapestry, his fingers brushing against its golden threads. With that touch came the power of their stories, surging through him like lightning. I won't be bound by your darkness any longer. Maddie yelled, and with a surge of will, he began to chant the symbols, pouring his energy into intentions that glimmered with hope and defiance. The words spilled from his lips, not merely noises, but a liberation of his heritage. Azazel's furious roars sliced through the chanting. Fool! You think you can rewrite history with flimsy words? You are nothing but a child. But Maddie could feel his ancestors rallying behind him, their spirits intertwining with his. The light intensified, embedding itself into the tapestry. The shadows recoiled, writhing back as if stung. The air thickened with possibility, but it wasn't enough. Maddie sensed the pull of fear creeping back, eager to disrupt his focus. A dark tendril snatched at his shirt, icy fingers reaching for the pulse of light he had begun to create. He gasped, fighting back against despair. Don't give up. The librarian's voice came through, fierce as ever. You can do this. Echoes of doubt clawed at Maddie's mind, but he dug deeper, calling upon the emotional weight of sorrow, courage, and hope. Together, we break the cycle. He cried, focused on each name that had ever held pain. The tapestry responded, radiant. It swelled as if it had gained a heartbeat, pulsing with newfound energy. The shadows flared and stumbled, losing their malevolent edge. Azazel shrieked, face twisting in rage. You think mere light can defeat me? He bellowed, rallying the darkness back to him. Fissures of shadow broke through, snaking toward Maddie. No! Maddie shouted, and with one final push, he poured every ounce of his being into the chant. The tapestry erupted in a cascade of colors, engulfing the square in blinding brilliance, but just as the light threatened to engulf Azazel, a bone-chilling scream rose at the heart of the vortex. The shadows surged back, a feral howl threatening to swallow everything whole. Maddie's grip on the tapestry slipped as a wave of coldness pierced through his resolve. As the darkness swallowed the light, Maddie's voice trembled, we can't stop now. We have to finish this. What other horrors awaited them in this final confrontation? Would dawn ever break if they faltered now? The cacophony of darkness surged forward, pressing on Maddie's chest like a weight he could barely endure. He felt the shadows clawing at his mind, ready to drown him in a suffocating inky tide. The tapestry flickered, a mere candle in a tempest. But as the icy tendrils closed in, he glimpsed a glimmer of light, refusing to dim. Let me in. He shouted amidst the chaos. Let our stories unite. The chant poured from him like a flood, each syllable fortifying his spirit. The librarian's face was fierce, unyielding, pushing him to delve deeper into his ancestral past. Her determination sparked something divine within him. Focus. The tapestry, Maddie. It's alive. She yelled. He closed his eyes, envisioning the threads interweaving his family's history, pain, and love. Memories played like a vivid film, his grandmother's guiding smile, the laughter of relatives long lost. They weren't just shadows, they were resilience woven into his soul. The tapestry responded. Glimmers pulsated with life, growing stronger with each word he recited. The shadows hissed, recoiling from the encroaching light. It felt like a race against time, the darkness clawing at the edges like a beast desperate for its prey. A howl pierced the air, a chilling reminder of Azazel's malice. You think your trivial connection can save you? His voice dripped with venom. The shadows thickened, clawing hungrily for Maddie's sacrifice. There has to be a way. Maddie choked out, sweat beading on his forehead. If we break the cycle. We can. The librarian shouted, cutting through his doubt. We've seen the past. Use the strength in our stories. Fire ignited in Maddie's chest, determination carved a new path. He reached for the radiant strands, feeling the tapestry resonate with his heartbeat. Each pulse sent waves of energy surging through the air, light battling shadows. But just then, the darkness surged anew. The screams of lost souls echoed around them, drowning out reason and hope. Wails of despair mingled with Azazel's laughter, a cacophony designed to tear them apart. Matty felt a chill wrapping around him, gripping his heart like a vice. "No!" he shouted. Desperation urged him forward, and he plunged his hands deeper into the tapestry. "This is our moment. We won't be your puppets any longer." Azazel trembled, a flicker of uncertainty emerging on his monstrous visage. The shadows around him twisted wildly, unsure how to contain the rising tide of light. "There is strength in unity," Matty cried out, his voice rising above the din. "We are forged from struggle, and you are nothing but a whisper in the wind." With every name he invoked, every story he embraced, the tapestry erupted into a supernova of light. The shadows faltered, casting dreadful glances towards their master. The librarian joined him, her voice a symphony in the storm. "Together!" they shouted. The power surged through them as the tapestry coalesced into a radiant sphere of brilliance that began to push back against Azazel and his darkness, but just as victory seemed within reach, a blood-curdling roar erupted from Azazel. "I will not be undone by a child." His form twisted, shadows spiraling violently around him. The light flickered, threatening to snuff out. "No! We cannot be broken!" Matty gasped, pushing every ounce of his spirit into the tapestry. And then, in the midst of the chaos, a single thread caught his eye, a thread that pulsed with a different kind of energy. "What is that?" Matty whispered, confusion mingled with intrigue. "Matty, don't lose sight. Focus." The librarian urged, the urgency rekindling their resolve, but that peculiar thread glimmered with a different light, taunting him, weaving a whisper of secrets long buried. Questions began to whirl in his mind. What hidden truth did it hold? Was it the key to their salvation or the thread that would unravel it all? As they fought against the oppressive night, Matty couldn't shake the feeling that some truths are best left hidden. Would uncovering it lead them closer to victory or to devastating defeat? Matty's heart pounded like a war drum. The flickering light drew him in, compelling him to step away from their desperate fight. He could feel the librarian's presence beside him, her breath quickening with the tension of the moment. "Matty, I can feel it too," she said, her voice tight with urgency. "Do not be distracted. It's a trap." But it was as if the thread pulsed in rhythm with his own heartbeat, whispering secrets that promised answers. The shadows writhed around them, angry and unyielding, but then Matty caught a glimpse of something more, a vision that twisted and turned in the fabric before him. It was a memory, or a ghost of one, the face of his ancestor, a fierce warrior clad in armor, eyes blazing with defiance. "You have the strength within you," the ancestor seemed to say. "The truth will set you free." Matty clenched his jaw. "What do you want from me?" he bellowed into the void. The fabric of the tapestry shimmered, and the glowing thread stretched toward him, alive with potential. "Matty! Focus on the light we're creating!" The librarian shouted, her hands raised in determination, pulling him back. "Don't let it split you apart." But the deeper he looked, the more he felt drawn to that radiant thread. Shadows lunged at him, desperate to swallow that spark, hissing with rage, but the glow grew only bolder. "You're a child of the light," the voice rang clearer now, urging him forward. "The past is your greatest weapon." His hands trembled as he reached for the thread, feeling its warmth wash over him. "What if this is the key?" he murmured, barely aware of the chaotic maelstrom swirling around them. The darkness crackled, and Azazel's snarls reached a fever pitch. "No!" Azazel roared, visibly infuriated. "You will not defeat me with sentiment. The light is a weakness. I am more than just my past." Matty shouted back, finding new resolve in the storm of fear and fury. "I embrace it." With a primal scream, he grasped the thread, feeling its energy surge into him. Colors exploded behind his eyes, enveloping him in visions. He saw battles fought, sacrifices made, stories spinning together in a tapestry of resilience and spirit. Generations of his family carved into existence by love and survival, all unfurling into the air around him like fireworks. Matty. The librarian gasped as tendrils of shadow reached for him, but the growing light around him seemed to draw strength from the stories, pushing the dark waves backward. Together, he murmured, sweat drenching his brow. They fight alongside me. Suddenly, the shadows pierced through with an agonizing shriek, cracking like ice underfoot. Azazel, visibly weakened, staggered back, a flare of panic in his eyes. Matty felt his pulse sink with the glowing thread, intertwining with the power of his ancestors. Now, unleash it. The librarian cried, fear and hope pulsating in her voice. This is our final stand. Matty unleashed a wave of energy, a scream of light bursting forth from his fingertips. The swirling colors expanded, swallowing the darkness inch by inch. Victory felt near, but a sense of foreboding crept in as he remembered Azazel's final words. The shadows, now retreating, began to flicker into a menacing swarm, coalescing into shape, and in that moment, Matty realized, what had he truly awakened with this thread? What legacy was he now inheriting? As the echoes of their combined energies clashed in a spectacular display, the ground beneath him trembled. Silhouettes writhed as they formed into the likeness of Azazel, his shape shifting in the chaos, driven to reclaim his power. No, this fight isn't over. Azazel yelled, his voice trembling with rage. Prepare for the full force of the fallen. The truth is far darker than you can imagine. The light lashed out against the shadows, but Matty's resolve wavered. He hadn't just broken a curse, he had unleashed something blasphemous, something ancient. Was it too late to turn back? As the vibrant colors of the tapestry began to dim against the gathering dark, Matty's heart sank. What was the cost of unearthing truths better left buried? The shadows writhed, converging around Matty like a storm seeking to consume him. With every heartbeat, Azazel's rage felt more palpable, an oppressive weight pushing against Matty's chest. The librarian stood her ground beside him, her fierce conviction sparking anew in the fading light. Matty, she urged, voice rising above the cacophony, we can't let the darkness win. Harness everything. The stories are memories, they hold more power than he can imagine. Clutching the glowing thread, Matty's heart raced. The electricity raced through him, illuminating the doubts that clung to his mind. Was he, perhaps, not strong enough to carry this burden? His ancestors had suffered so much, their pain swirled around him now, begging to be set free. With renewed determination, he lifted his chin and faced the swirling mass of shadows. You don't control us. He shouted, his voice rising in defiance. This isn't just about surviving, it's about living fully, embracing the light forged through our suffering. The walls of the square trembled, and Azazel paused, a flicker of uncertainty flashing through his eyes. You think your trifling words can hold sway over eons of anguish? He hissed, but Matty felt the crackle of power behind him building to a roar. Who we are is more than just fear and despair. The librarian shouted, spurring Matty onward. Look! Our pasts are intertwined. Together, we rise. The whispers of their ancestors surged around them, harmonizing into a thundering chorus that echoed through the ancient square. Images of families united behind them flickered into view, laughter and joy mixed with their pain. Matty drew strength from them, channeling that ancient resilience into the radiant thread. Reclaim what's ours. Matty bellowed, feeling the world pulse around him, a transformative storm gathering energy. We break these chains of darkness. With his words, powerful waves of light exploded from the thread, illuminating the square in a kaleidoscope of colors. The shadows screamed, a visceral sound that twisted through the air. Azazel staggered back, absorbing the remnants of light. A flicker of fear crept into his features as he tried to recoil. You cannot. He howled, struggling against the tide. But the light surged again, thrumming with the connection of memories, wiping away the distorted pain, pushing against the encroaching dark shadows. With an all-encompassing roar, Maddie released one final surge of energy, a profound wave that swept across the square like wildfire. The tapestry of shared ancestors entwined with each shimmering word, and the darkness began to unravel, tumbling back, retreating beneath the weight of truth and love. Azazel screamed, rage tangible, but it resonated with fear. This isn't over. He bellowed, his form flickering like a dying ember. I will return from the depths, and your legacy will haunt you. With a final cry of unity, Maddie and the librarian drew upon the strength of every ancestor, every soul that had suffered in silence. They poured their hearts into their words, embracing the radiant truth. In that climactic moment, the darkness shattered, bursts of light flooding the square as if dawn had been summoned. Then, with a shattering crash, the remaining shadows vanished, consumed by the brilliance of love and memory. Silence filled the air, a palpable calm washing over the landscape. The flickering lanterns remained, lighting the newly changed square as a soft light emerged, illuminating their surroundings with a gentle, golden glow. Breathless, the townsfolk began to gather, their expressions a mix of disbelief and awe. Maddie turned, heart racing, meeting the librarian's gaze. Did we really do it? He breathed, awe evident in his voice. The librarian's expression softened, relief washing over her like a wave. We did. We took back our power. The truth won. As the sun began to rise above the horizon, an ethereal warmth covered the town, illuminating the path they had forged together. Maplewood felt like a new place, as if the burdens of the past had finally been lifted, leaving space for hope to flourish. In the heart of it all, Maddie felt his connection to the town deepen, understanding that true power sprang from their unity, from embracing both the light and the darkness, rewriting their legacy for generations to come. Exhausted, yet alive with possibility, he turned to the crowd, grateful faces surrounding them. Together, he whispered, we can build a future that honors our past but doesn't let it define us. This is just the beginning. His heart swelling with promise, Maddie looked up to the rising sun, its golden rays brushing across the town, igniting a spark of hope. Maplewood would always remember the night shadows fell, but now, they would embrace the dawn together. As they moved forward, ready to share their story with the world, Maddie understood one thing: the power of truth can conquer all. Now, it's your turn to join us in this journey. Make sure you subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that unfold. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and help this community grow stronger. And don't forget, flood the comments section below with your reactions and theories about this epic ending. Let us know your thoughts. Finally, share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Don't wait even one more second to bring them into the fold. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel to keep the stories alive.